Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy. Tiene tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer.
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And it is. Glenn Crooks here, Roberto Abramowitz, special World Cup edition of NYCFC Views Live. Although we do have New York City news. James Sands. That's for the supporters of the New York City Football Club. That's the biggest news of the day, with Matt Freese off today and in goal tomorrow for the U.S., we would assume, against Australia. Aiden O'Neill, Kai Truin on the other side. So all kinds of New York City happenings, Roberto. Let's kick it off. Well, first we should say Canada, is that over now? They swamped Qatar 6-0 now, the final. There was another goal. So Jonathan David ended up with a hat trick. Another World Cup hat trick, Roberto. There's been a few of those.
Been two. One by some messy guy, and then this one.
Oh, I thought there were more. Didn't somebody?
Hat tricks? No.
No?
On this World Cup, only these two.
All right.
A lot of 2-goal games.
Yeah, the big guns are scoring goals. Jonathan David basically getting out of a slump, you'd have to say. And there was some question as to whether he would start today. And because Kyle Larin came off the bench and scored the equalizer against Bosnia, which was massive, as it turns out, because right now, because of goal differential, you've got Canada top of the table here ahead of Switzerland in their group, and they play each other in the third match. So that's a dramatic match coming up, because finishing first in the group, I think, means an awful lot in this expanded field. Then you play a third place team.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And Canada with their first win ever, by the way. So now they got their first point ever in their first game, and now their first win ever. And it is one of the more lopsided wins in the history of the World Cup by winning by 6-0.
And their first multi-goal game in a World Cup match. And there was one note on Opta before, because they suffocated Qatar from the start. Before Qatar went down to 10 and then 9. And the second red card, Ishmael Kone, the midfielder for Canada, suffered a very serious injury. They haven't disclosed what it is. Off on a stretcher.
He broke his leg. He broke his leg. It's visible that he broke his leg. So I feel for him.
So you've seen reports that the leg is broken.
No, I don't need to see reports to see that his leg is broken. His leg was his leg was bent. I went back and I looked at it. Against my own will, but I went back and I looked at it, and at this part of his tib fib just bent. It's broken. There's no way that the leg does that.
Okay, so we'll wait for the full medical report on Kone. It's a serious injury. His teammates surrounded him, as teammates do now, and rightly so that the public and the world can't see what's going on. And of course, the Qatar was Madibo, because he scored he scored the goal for Qatar. No, he didn't score a goal. What did he came close to a goal. Then he was red carded. He scored a goal that was disallowed. I think that's what was happening. That's why I thought of him. But okay. He's the one that committed the foul, and he was crying. Yeah. No, I don't doubt you, Roberto. I'm just saying I wait for medical report.
I know. I get that you want the official, but I mean, sometimes it's just so obvious. It's horrific. Yep. So he's going to be out for a while.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. Opta said that this is after match day 1. Across all match day 1 fixtures of the FIFA World Cup, the team who applied high-intensity pressure to the highest share of their opponent's touches was Jesse Marsh's Canada. And they certainly didn't lessen that figure today, because they were just, even before the red cards, they were all over Qatar. So that was the Canada story. Now, before we get
that's interesting, because I mean, before that, I thought it was the U.S. who had done that, and they overwhelmed Paraguay, who couldn't seem to string 2 passes together.
Well,
in
you know,
their
these
first
data
game.
points, high intensity pressure, whatever that is,
Yeah,
to the
there's that.
to the highest share of their opponent's touches. So
Yeah, I know.
calculated. So I'll give him that. I mean,
Nuance,
that's the
nuance. I get it. Context.
that's the Jesse Marsh way, anyway. So that's what
Yeah,
you
it
would
is.
figure. All right, so here we go. James Sands. Where are you, James? This is I love this picture. So James Sands is back. This picture is that we see all the time. It's at the training facility in Orangeburg, and that's a picture of Sands. What you don't see is the rest of the team celebrating MLS Cup in Portland in 2021. It's a great picture. Now, Roberto, I'm gonna play the very short piece. This is what James had to say to everybody, and this was played by NYCFC Digital. And I don't think before this anybody outside of the club knew what was going on.
Hey guys, James Sands here. Just wanted to say really happy to be back. I missed you guys a lot, and I can't wait to see you on the pitch. And hopefully we're gonna go win some trophies this year.
Well, that made it clear he wasn't coming in just to train and then transfer to some other club. So he signed a contract through 2030, Roberto, with a option for another year. Now the last time he went out on loan and came back, he signed another extension. So he's been out on loan twice, first with Rangers and then with St. Pauli. They were relegated. So he's back.
Missed a good part of the season because of a major injury.
Yeah, another ankle injury, different ankle, but he's had some injury woes in his career. So hopefully he's unscathed in a New York City uniform. And I think I have one more to play. Did I put this up there? Hold on. I just need to. Yeah, maybe I didn't do it. All right. Sometimes I forget, Roberto.
It's okay. It happens.
No, it's not up there. Anyway, I had a clip of him replacing Andrea Pirlo because that's when he made his pro debut in 2017, and he replaces Pirlo. So it was an interesting moment for him. Pirlo didn't give him the big hug. Hey, welcome to pro soccer. He just kind of walked off the field.
Pirlo being Pirlo.
The reason I wanted to show it, I'll just describe it, is that Pirlo took about 40 seconds to get off the field. And I was thinking to myself, well, in modern day soccer, Sands would have had to wait 60 seconds to come onto the field because you have to get off in 10 seconds. That's in the World Cup this year. And
well, it's a new rule, period. It's a new law of the game. Experimented first in MLS and now adopted by the rest of FIFA. So IFAB now put it in, and so that means everybody's got to use it. So here's a question, Glenn. Of all the positions of need for New York City FC, defensive midfield wasn't it. It really wasn't it. But I understand you get a chance to bring in a player of the quality of James Sands, and James Sands is a high-quality player.
I think you forget what other position he plays.
That's where I'm going. Because remember the last time he came back, and the deal was, yes, I'm coming back, but I'm only playing defensive mid. And then in one emergency, they put him at on defense. Here's the thing.
Hold on. What I want to say here, and then I don't want to interrupt you, other than to say I would bet $1,000 that guarantee was not part of this deal this time. He's just coming back. But go ahead.
I hope so, because the obvious situation is that one of the positions where New York City lacks is central defense. And they don't have a lot of cover there, especially now that Tanasiewicz has left. And so I would say that if James Sands plays to the level of James Sands, then that means he needs to be slotted there as a starter in front of Trevin and in front of Raul. He's a starter there. He's better than both of them.
Yeah,
and so if he plays the way he plays, now we got to see how he recovers from the injuries. But that's where he should make the biggest difference for New York City, because in midfield, it's already overloaded as it is.
Beyond the overload, he is very similar to Matty Lawrence, my broadcast partner, chimed in with a lot of different scenarios with Sands coming on board. But he said he and O'Neal, and this is true, are very similar in their traits. It's almost like the same player. Neither one of them really get forward effectively. And so you have 2 6s possibly there. Look, Gustavo has been found out, and I don't want to see any analytics on this guy. Raul Gustavo's a lovely person. He's been inconsistent at the back. He can't play left back, and you're not always certain what you're getting at left central defense, despite the fact that on occasion the partnership with Thiago Martins, fellow Brazilian, has been great. But for the most part, it's been less than great. So you're right. He's ahead of Gustavo. And Kai Truin as well, because Sands offers, I just think, even though I'm going to play a Truin cut here in a little bit about the Aussie way, but Sands just has a little bit more to him, strength-wise, toughness, than
height,
which you need in these positions. So
yeah.
But when we say the midfield is overloaded, I see all the comments. You can never, and I'm going to say this with capital letters and with a lot of nevers following, you can never be too deep in the midfield because it's the most critical position. Keaton Parks, look, when he's healthy, and there was a nice little clip of him today training, so he looked pretty good. He looked like he's fully recovered from anything that might have been going on with him. But Andres Pereira, Keaton Parks, Aiden O'Neal, I love that midfield. But you've got Pereira that's had a major injury. You have Parks that's had 3 surgeries, and he's even said himself at the beginning of the year he's never quite sure what happens the next day. He's not 100% certain. So you have injury uncertainties there. You have a young player, Johnny Shore, who, although he contributed last year, is not James Sands. So I don't think you can be. That's an area where you need depth because that's the way they want to play. Their midfield is key. So I'm not too concerned with having too much of a glut in midfield. I'm not worried about who doesn't play. Earn your spot and you play. That's it, man. That's it.
Okay. You're the coach. I see your point of view from that, from that perspective. But and then there's still time to go, right? Once the window opens. Of when, to see what other players they're going to bring in. When Raul Jimenez left Fulham, I was like starting to get a little giddy. And I go, my God, wouldn't he be a perfect player for New York City FC? And then he immediately got swallowed off by a wolf.
Well, have you called your AC Milan contacts to see if this Christian Pulisic stuff is at all feasible?
No, I have not. I have not done that. Hey, we still don't even know if he's
playing.
Well, I have for New York City in July.
I know some Milan people, and serious people, and there's no credence to it as far as they're concerned. But it's an interesting story nonetheless. Oh, by the way, Roberto, we could talk over this too. Here's Sands, since we're talking about Sands, making his it was up here the whole time. I just couldn't see it. There's our man Pirlo. Look at him, looking fit. He's 7 years old there. And look, walking. We're at 10 seconds now.
Oh, yeah. Forget it. It would be like.
But my favorite part of this clip is, I don't know if the kit man is watching, Danny LaRoche, but look how young he looks. When there's going to be a picture of him giving Pirlo a high five if he ever gets off the field. And there's Jimmy Sands, ladies and gentlemen. There's Danny. Look at him. Dapper
with the short hair and look at that.
Yeah, so
he looks better now. I'm telling you, he looks better now.
There you go. I think as we get older, sometimes we discover. Not to say I think he's always been a pretty fit guy, but you learn how to take better care of yourself. That's what happens because when you're 30 and 40, nobody gives a crap. You're just doing and eating everything. You're doing anything you want because your metabolism seems to settle everything down in a nice way, and then all of a sudden it slows to a crawl, and then you're here.
I will say this, and there's no hyperbole here. He is the hardest working man in NYCFC.
Yeah. Well,
I will absolutely say that he's a freaking legend there.
Yeah,
really is.
No, and a legend, his level of import, you can't even you'd have to, and they've done some. If you hit the digital scene and type in Daniel LaRoche or Kitman, they did a day in the life, and you'll be tired after you watch it. Really briefly, Mitja Ilinic is back.
Yes.
Let's talk about that a little bit more next time. And Strahinja Tanasiewicz, which was almost a foregone conclusion. It was his desire to leave, and I think he just wants to play. So I don't think he has a place yet, but he is gone.
He does not. He was let go as a free agent. There was nothing in the release that said that he was going to another team. And look, we can talk about this now because we spoke to Strahinja about a month ago, and he told us that this was that he was asking for his release. So you know, now we can talk about this. Because we were told, this was in confidence, and we respect people's wishes as far as that's concerned. And it was a situation where he just wanted to play. And he just, the way things were in New York City FC, and look, you can argue that he earned the amount of minutes that he got or he didn't get, but he thought that he wanted to play more. He doesn't think he should be playing more. He never said that, but he wanted to play more. So he wants to go to a situation where he's going to be able to get more minutes. And there's one thing I want to say about Strahinja. I mean, I love the guy personally. And one of the things that I loved about him was the way that he would stick up for his teammates. It was far and beyond what anybody else did. He would stick up for his teammates. He was almost like an old-fashioned hockey cop without going out and beating people up. But he was in people's faces immediately. He was taking care of his guys. There was nobody who was going to intimidate them. He was going to be there. I love that about him.
Yeah, and a gentle guy off the field too. But he also protected his coaches. Remember when Nick Cushing had a pretty poor relationship with Toronto FC, and he got right in there at that little halftime skirmish, on the way to the tunnel, and he was right there. Well, I'm happy for him that he has a chance to maybe find a place where he can play more. Hey, just quickly, I think we'd be remiss. I mean, we're in this New Jersey, New York, Connecticut metropolitan area, and people from all over the place went into New York today for the Knicks parade. And I mean, I watched a decent portion of it. I didn't see the speeches. I went back and heard a little bit of I heard some of Mondami. I heard some of Mike Breen and Jalen Brunson. And so it was pretty cool. What did I write about it? You know what I really want? The Canyon of Heroes, the ticker tape parade, it started in 1924 with the Olympic team when they returned, which I didn't know. But this is the first one for the Knicks, even though I don't know. I can't recall why they didn't have a parade for them back in 70 and 73.
I'm trying to. I think it was probably budgetary issues in City Hall and things like that. So
who was the mayor? Who was the mayor?
I think it was Mayor Lindsay or AB.
John Lindsay.
One of the two. Back at that time. But I know that there were problems financial problems in the city. Remember the city was almost going broke and the whole thing. So, so it was great to see that all the legends got to be there and they got their ticker tape parade as well, especially Clyde Frazier. And because sadly Dave DeBusschere is no longer with us, I didn't see if Bill Bradley was there.
I didn't see
Bill Bradley.
I didn't see Dollar Bill. I didn't see Earl Monroe. Did you see Earl?
I didn't see Earl either. No.
He's still alive. Dick Barnett is no longer.
Yes, he
alive,
is.
Right? Oh, he is. Okay.
No, Dick Barnett. I'm not sure.
I think he passed
Earl the Pearl
away.
is definitely still alive.
No, not Earl. Dick Barnett. I'm almost certain passed away.
I think he did too. But the one thing that I want to tell people, if they haven't seen it yet, Zoran Mondami's speech, which was 5 minutes and 50 seconds long. Okay.
It was 8 minutes, but I went back and watched it. Some of it. It was 8 minutes.
Well, no, because I reproduced the video on my Twitter, and it was 5 and change, and it was from beginning to end. So I had it as 5 and change. Anyway, whatever, 5, 8,
whatever it is.
I have it. I posted it on my Twitter. I posted it on my Facebook page. But if not, just go find it. But watch the whole thing. It is absolutely brilliant. It's inspiring. It's just absolutely just wonderful prose delivered perfectly. It is just an absolute love letter to not only the Knicks of today, but the Knicks of all time.
Yeah,
And
that was the best
especially
part.
from 73 to 26. And it is just absolutely lovely. It just sets the tone for everything else. It was very well done. I was really thrilled for Mike Breen. I was really thrilled for, everybody who's a Knick fan. The one thing that I wish they could have done, which I don't know if they could, and maybe because, I don't know if they could have fit anybody everywhere. I mean, they couldn't have fit everybody anyway. So many people that arrived at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, and waited in line to get into the pens and just didn't get in. And I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of people who didn't get in, including my son, who went down there, left the house before 4:30 in the morning, was online at 5 and could not get in. And it's really, really a shame. I wish they could have made the route longer. It's less than a mile. And if they had been able to do that, maybe more people could have enjoyed this personally. But, it was great on TV. It was great television. And it was just another wonderful, joyful celebration of the Knicks and New York, that everybody got together and everybody was part of this. It was lovely.
I thought the inspirational part of this team, I was watching Fox 5, and they were doing a lot of interviews with the crowd, which I knew they would do. And the amount of parents who had their children with them and just said, just watching this team, resilient, coming back from these deficits, doing it in a positive way, no fighting. I mean, it was really one of those teams that they're so likable, and that's not always the case in pro sports, and that hasn't always been the case with the Knicks. But it's that really struck me. And then the other absence, unless he was there, and he was there, Marv Albert. I mean, in 1970 and 73, the reason I loved the Knicks was Marv Albert, because all the home games were blacked out by that back then. Yeah. And I listened to every single Yankee game, Knick game, and Jet game when they were home. I went to my bedroom and listened on the radio, and probably got more out of understanding and loving my team on the radio, which was one of the reasons, I think we've shared this before, one of the reasons I fell in love with radio was Marv Albert. But he was so much a part of that championship, those seasons. I wish he was on stage too.
Yeah, that would have been fantastic. No doubt about it. I want to make a parallel, and we're going to bring it back to New York City FC. What the most important thing that Leon Rose sought on the Knicks was companionship and compatibility, right? Guys who got along, guys who could work together and would pull together, guys who would not think of themselves as individuals, but of part of something bigger and something greater. And he went out and made sure that he got that by putting the Villanova guys together, the Nova Knicks, right? First it was Brunson, who he loved his attitude. And then he brought in Josh Hart. And if you see the reaction of Brunson when he gets the news on his phone that Josh Hart has just been traded for, and he just jumps for joy in a mall, and when he sees that. And then later on they get DiVincenzo. And then after that, they get Mikal Bridges. And so that's a Nova Knicks. And then some hard decisions have to be made. And so they go and they trade Randall and they trade DiVincenzo right to Minnesota to bring in Karl Anthony Towns, who's from Jersey and has been a Knick fan his entire life, but also high character guys. And all these guys that they've brought in, they're all team first, character first. And that is a major part of the reason why this team succeeded. And this is something that we've talked about with the dressing room for New York City FC. And that is high character guys, everybody pulling for each other, no bad apples on the team that we could see or that we know. And look, we travel with the team. We could see a lot of this stuff if it would happen, if there was something negative. And there never is. It always seems people are pulling for each other. Of course, people want to play and people want to, start and things like that. But within all of that, everybody knows their role. Everybody understands their role. And everybody makes sure that they're rowing together to make sure that this team goes forward.
The only time in my whole time with New York City FC that I saw a little disgruntledness is when Tati Castellanos arrived on a Wednesday and started on Saturday under Dome Turan. There was
and by the way, what did he do on Saturday?
He scored, and then he didn't score again for another year and a half. But,
I didn't ask what he did the other year and a half. I said, what did he do that Saturday?
Yeah. No, it's a great point, Roberto. And I think if you and let's get on to the World Cup here, but the post-match interviews, post-game interviews for the Knicks, I don't know. I don't like post games. I'm not into it. I watch the game. I don't want to see all the joking on this at this. I don't want all that. I don't want it. I don't want it in this World Cup because sometimes it's not serious. Just please but anyway, first of all, I did fall for Barkley and Friends. I like those guys.
They're the best show on TV. I will say this every time.
But then their interviews, and Lisa, is it Salter?
Lisa Salters for ESPN. Yes.
Okay. Her interviews are just to, and they would get, that quartet, they would get like lengthy interviews at the end after the guys were in the locker room, they'd come back out. And man, you really did, as we do when we interview the New York City Football Club players. You got a feeling for their characters. That is a good point. All right. So
the one guy who's a terrible interview, by the way, he's just way too media trained, is Jalen Brunson. Brunson, after a game, just won't give you anything. Now, Josh Hart will definitely, and so will Karl Anthony Towns. But Brunson won't give you anything. Today, he gave you something. Today, when he went to the podium, he gave you a little bit. You could tell that the things that people have said about him all throughout, right? That the Knicks can't win with a small guy, all right? That he's not that dude, as somebody said.
It was said by Becky Hammond, and it went viral. So,
but there were other people who doubted him. There were other people who doubted from Stephen A. Smith, a lot of the guys on ESPN. I saw there's videos everywhere of Fox, of wherever the people doubted him. Okay, and what did he do?
He handled himself well. You're talking about
all of that was motivation.
But
all
he handled it
was motivation.
Sure, and he just handled it the right way. That's the way it should be. All right, look, let's get to USA Australia, shall we?
Woo! Let's do this.
So I'm really looking forward to this one tomorrow, as we all are, because not just because it's the U.S. and Australia, but we got the New York City boys involved in this game, which is pretty cool. And we said it from the time that Australia qualified, and then in December we find out they're in the same group as the U.S. And we said all along, we hope it's Aiden O'Neill against Matt Freese. Then we get this guy Kai Truan. He comes over from Melbourne, and he's playing a fairly significant role with the club. He's only had 4 caps for Australia, but they brought him in. He did well enough. So now it's 3 New York City players, which is pretty cool. And the thing is, Roberto, at this point, if either one of these sides win, whoever wins tomorrow, if it's a draw, it could very well be a draw, which is what I'm predicting, by the way. So I believe it will be a draw. But if one of them wins, then that team could clinch the group before playing the third game, which is really wild. And that'll depend on Paraguay, Turkey. I don't think that's kicking off till 11 p.m. So that one's late, and we'll have to wait a while for that to. If somebody wins, if Australia wins or the U.S. wins, then they'll have to wait for a while.
So is that? Let me see. Paraguay, Turkey is an 11 o'clock game. Jesus.
Yeah.
So it won't be over till 1 a.m. U.S. Australia at 3, Scotland Morocco at 6, and Brazil at 8:30.
The USA have won. The U.S. has won only 2 games in the World Cup twice. 1930. When everybody forgets they had their best finish ever, they finished 3rd, There are only 13
Fourth.
teams.
Fourth.
No, they finished third.
No, they lost the third place game.
They finished third.
Okay.
And in 1994, when they got to, they lost in a round of 16 to Brazil. The only time they've won 2 straight was in 1930. I'll look that up, Roberto. I don't want to be. I know I'm adamant about it, but
Okay. Well, I know that they beat Paraguay. That was one of the teams. They beat them 3-0. The first 2 games they won 3-0. 3-0 apiece.
you know what's it? That Paraguay game? Bert Peninaud, I think his name is, scored all 3 goals. We're talking 1930 now against Paraguay, and the only other player in the history of the U.S. men's national team to score multiple goals in a game is Flo Balogun against
Paraguay.
Wow,
Yes.
that's pretty cool. All right, anyway,
It is very cool. So they won. So U.S. Australia have only played once, and the U.S. won 2-1, and that was last year. And what was a very physical game between those 2 teams. That's why I don't call these things friendlies, Glenn. I mean, I call them, I call them an exhibition game. But this one was a tough one, and they were hitting each other pretty hard. And if both teams needed that as a full warm up, then they got exactly that. And so I expect the game to be extremely physical tomorrow. For Australia, they have made this into a revenge game, and not a revenge because they lost 2-1 in the previous game. It's a revenge game because a lot of people sort of dismissed Australia when they were picked into the group. Mike Grella was one of them, who basically had insinuated that was a layup for the U.S. national team when they were picked. And the reason he said that, when he said what he did, wasn't because he was trying to disrespect Australia, but of all the teams that were in the pot that Australia was in, that was the worst ranked team.
the weakest. Here's his exact quote:
Okay.
Mike Grella, quote, "The weakest team in the group, quote, no shot at getting out of the group." So that
Well, that one is that part of it becomes a little dismissive, I guess.
Yeah.
If that's the full quote.
And
Anyway.
then Alexi Lalas said something. I don't have the exact disparaging comment, but then he said, "I hope that it's wallpaper all around the Australian dressing room because they're going to need all the help they can get." So those are the things that they've seen. And plus the Aussies, I want to just play. These are old clips of first Aiden O'Neill and then Kai Trewin. But this was asking them, I think you were in the room for both of these, just asking them about the Australia way, because Matty Lawrence had played with Tim Cahill, and he talked about the Aussies have a certain way. So here's O'Neill first, and then I'll play Trewin right on the back of it.
Yeah, I think we're quite comfortable with who we are as people. I think that can be a sense of assurance in ourselves, and quite humble. I think we're quite humble people, but sure of ourselves and our abilities as well.
I guess it is an Aussie way, you just sort of head down, working hard. No matter what happens, it's always going to be you're giving your best every game, every training session. That's like something I can guarantee I will always be able to give. I don't know if that's an Australian thing or if that's just when we grow up and how we're taught to play. But yeah, I think as a lot of Australian players have that sort of, I guess, mongrel or something about them where they'll never give in, and yeah, I guess that's probably more of an Australian way, that you'll never give in no matter what you come up against or who you're playing against.
Yeah, so that's I like the mongrel part of that. And then one more here, Roberto, and this plays off of what you said, that they have a little added motivation. Kai Trewin was in an Aussie presser.
Have you ever wanted to win a game more than this one?
No, I have never wanted to win a game more than this one. I can tell you that for free. I've never wanted to win a game more than I've wanted to win this game against the US for sure.
So there you have it. So the US will pick up on that one too. So
I'm sure they will. Here's my point on all of this, Glenn, and you're a coach, and you tell me if this is valid or not, okay? This is a World Cup. If you need any extra motivation to go out and to give it your all and play your best and do whatever it takes to win, if you need something more to motivate you than that, then you're not properly motivated.
No, I don't disagree with that, but there are slight grades of intensity that sometimes an additional motivating factor might help you in a moment, or it might hurt Christian Pulisic in a moment. We do have in our comments, the question is Pulisic not playing? Well, we don't know that yet. The latest we've heard is that he's day to day with a calf injury. But here's what I'm saying, Roberto, and players understand this. And this is a tough group, these Australians. The way they play, I publicly made the comment, I thought they played a near perfect game against Turkey or Turkey, and I thought the U.S. played a near perfect game against Paraguay. I thought these are two teams whose game plans were like perfect. But if they know which calf that Christian Pulisic starts the game, if they know which calf is hurting, I would almost guarantee that an Aiden O'Neill or someone is going to come in hard in that area of Christian Pulisic. And people might think that's dirty, that's nasty. That is the way soccer players play, folks. And that's why they hide these injuries. Everybody thinks that we should know if Pulisic's going to play or not. Pochettino doesn't have to tell you if he's going to play. Remember Tata Martino and Lionel Messi, and everybody was all upset, because they bought $600 tickets or whatever to see Messi. Tata Martino doesn't have to tell you whether Messi's playing or not. That's stupid. And we're not going to tell you the nature of the injury either. So
we find out. It used to be an hour, but for this World Cup, it seems it's 90 minutes before the game that they're announcing the lineups. So we'll find out somewhere between 1:30 and 2 o'clock tomorrow if Christian Pulisic is playing. And if he doesn't play, then you have a decision.
Yeah.
How do you replace him? Do you replace him with Reina? Do you replace him with Weah? Or do you go and replace him with somebody who is very active and a player who can bring out, good stuff with everybody else and bring out the best? And he's been playing a lot of that role in Mexico, and that's Alejandro Sendejas. I think Sendejas is the least likely to play in a starting role, but I think it's more between Reina and Weah.
I'm picking Weah. I don't know if you saw my post, Roberto, but he and this is not breaking news. He prefers playing the left side. Like, he prefers playing the left side a lot. And in my book, I interviewed a woman named Zoe Wimshurst, who was a sports vision coach. And I derived and found her from an article in The Athletic, which featured the U20 Italian team playing with eye patches. So what this led to is just their increased vision and awareness. But she talks about the dominant eye, and Mauricio Pochettino buys into this. In fact, he has used Weah on the left, knowing that his dominant eye is right. And I asked Weah about this off mic at that Pier 17. I said, do you believe in this? Is that because he said, yeah, I'd rather play on the left. And so I'm, with all that information, if Pulisic can't go, I'm picking Weah on the left.
I'm sure that Weah prefers to play on the left for a lot of reasons that players prefer to play on their off wing. And the reason is that you can cut inside and shoot with your strong foot.
Yep. Well,
that's why they like to play on the other side.
But I like Pochettino because he has a sense of some of what would be. Look, how many people are going to poo-poo dominant eye, right? It's like, oh, come on, man, right? How important could that be? Well, you take every aspect of the game and every data point and all these other things that they look at, and you decide what's important. And to some people, that's not going to be important. Anyway, that's my extended analysis as to why I think if Pulisic doesn't go, it's Weah on the left. If Pulisic does go and it's the left calf, there'll be some contact on that calf during the course of the game, probably pretty early.
Well, we'll see. I probably think that he's going to come off the bench at some point, Pulisic, if needed. If the U.S. can figure out how to win that game without Pulisic playing, then, they can give him some extra rest. Or they can also, the U.S. national team could be freaking sandbagging, right? Every
Sure.
Every open training, which is only the first 15 minutes,
Yeah.
he's been out on his own. But we don't see what happens in the rest of the 2 hours.
So as soon as everybody leaves, come on, get over here, Christian. We're doing 4v4 now, dude.
Over there.
Yeah.
We don't know that. And so, if they have to keep Australia guessing and see, well, now you got to prepare for Pulisic playing, and then you got to prepare for Pulisic not playing, and then you got to prepare for, well, if he doesn't play, who is playing? And so you're giving Australia a lot to think about.
What time is
and
it?
I think that's great.
What time is it in Norway? Isn't it like 4 a.m?
It's very late. It's
right.
very late.
Well,
I think Marcus is probably waking up at this
Are
time.
you waking up, Marcus? Well, good. Have a good day at work, and I hope you watch the game with us a little bit later. So I've been talking a lot about Weah. I think I may have played this once before, but I think this works with the fact that they're now playing Australia. They played Australia in October, you remember, in the friendly, Roberto, and rallied from a 1-0 deficit to the U.S. to beat Australia 2-1. So I asked Weah, and this is at the Pier 17 thing, but I asked him about that because Pochettino made some interesting post-game comments. The come-from-behind match against Australia. I was interested in Pochettino's post-game comments because he made it seem like it was a turning point for the team. The quote was, "We need to trust in ourselves. It's in our blood." I think this is the type of thing that is sometimes difficult to explain when the magic happens. Did the whole unit feel that way? Do you think of that game as a bit of a turning point?
Yeah, most definitely. I think, we've had a lot of games this season that we've had to, suck it up and learn from. I think, a lot, some would say negative results, but we look at it as positives also because like I said, we live and we learn. We're growing. We're trying new things. I think Poch is leading the way in an amazing way. He's bringing that South American grit that we needed and we're going to need if we're going to, compete against Paraguay.
We heard some of that in Atlanta. Did you hear any of that press conference of his?
No, I didn't hear it at all.
Well, it was interesting because one thing he said is that I still need to teach my team to have the Colombia versus France friendly attitude is basically 100%. What he's referring to,
Yeah, I think it's something different and it adds that bit of edge. This team, we have so much talent and we were always the good guys and now, we're learning how to be bad guys as well. And I think that's the beautiful thing with being coached by Poch is that he brings that intensity, he brings that grit, he brings that hunger, and that's what we're all picking up. So hopefully we can translate that on the pitch.
All right. So Australia already thinks they're the bad guys. The U.S. men have transferred their good guy into bad guy form. Maybe we saw that against Paraguay. Maybe we saw it against Germany a little bit, Senegal. I think we got
to be honest. I don't think so. I didn't see really any of that. I just thought they just played their game. They didn't come out there trying to roughhouse people or anything else. But, the U.S. has never been intimidated anyway.
No, by bad guy, it means like, you're not going to take it from anybody. You're not. And Pochettino has said that over and over. Now we're kind of getting quotes from meetings. If you watch the 5th episode of that Us Against the World, Pochettino goes bonkers at halftime of one of the games, say we don't take, shite from anybody, we're Americans, that whole thing. Yeah. So it's that, bad guy versus good guy. I think that's soft versus hard. And let's face it, the U.S. has not been consistently hard in the last year and a half, 2 years. They haven't.
I mean, he's reshaped the team in many ways. The team, I remember back to the Nations League tournament when they lost, when they played poorly and lost both games. And Pochettino basically, said, all right, nobody's position is safe. Everybody's position is now up for grabs because it was always the same group. And they played poorly. And Pochettino was like, yeah, well, this isn't going to work. I need to light a fire under some of these guys. And so that's what he did.
Yeah, no question, man. Well, it's one to look forward to. Now, if anybody is in Jersey or not too far, or maybe you want to drive, there's going to be an excellent event. It's called, and Roberto, I've been to this place now. I'm friends with the owner, Mark Costa, the Veritage Brewery. Mm-hmm. They brew their own beer on site, but they also, it's a sports bar. but it's unique, and they have this outdoor area where they have one of these trucks where it's a huge screen on either side of the truck. So you bring your own chairs, you sit out there. I'm bringing my wife tomorrow. And if you come, if anybody's listening or watching and can come, it's really a cool, and you'll be able to hear the game and watch the game, because I like hearing the announcers. And if you go into that truck area on the gravel, it's blasting and it's easily heard. So, and then you buy a couple of my books, while I'm there, because I'm going to show up on my books. So do that too.
That's pretty cool. So I'm going to be at my corner bar. If anybody's up here in Washington Heights and wants to join us to watch the U.S. tomorrow at 3 p.m., I'm going to be there. Actually, I'm going to go there right now. It'll be able to watch Mexico against South Korea, which starts in about 15 minutes. So I'm going to run down there. But I'll also be there tomorrow before 3 o'clock to watch the U.S. and Australia. And that is called 181 Cabrini. It's on the corner of West 181st Street and Cabrini Boulevard. So come on down and make some noise. They got the sound up, and all 3 screens in the front of the bar are all in 4K. So we're definitely doing that.
All right, come to Jersey. Hold on. Look at this one. Look at this, Roberto.
Is that the goalie for Cape Verde?
That's Vozinha. I mean, this is the guy. This guy. You talk about unbelievable stories. Now, there was this guy in New Zealand, Tim Payne, and I think it was it was an influencer, and I can't remember what, from Argentina.
From Argentina.
Who found out that he had the fewest followers of any player in the World Cup, and now he's got like zillions. So that's been a funny story. But look at this. So here's another slide. So Vozinha, Instagram following, he's got 11.6, which is twice as many as Victor Wembanyama, almost twice as many as Patrick Mahomes. But you get the idea.
Yeah.
So the story is incredible. There's a Brazilian influencer who owns a YouTube channel that legally broadcasted the game. The Cabo Verde game where they got the draw. Remarkable. And they were so enamored with this guy that they put up his Instagram handle and then pleaded for people, follow this guy. And 11 points. And I think he's at 12.7 now. That was earlier in the day. People keep updating what he's got. It's like
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Speaking of numbers,
yes,
this number is absolutely impressive. Okay, the U.S. Paraguay game.
Yeah,
27,537,000 people watched that game between Fox, Telemundo, Tubi, and the streaming services, Peacock, etc. That is a new record as the most watched soccer broadcast in U.S. history. And I thank Jonathan Tannewall for putting all those numbers together. To give it a little bit of context, okay, the most watched NBA Finals, well, rather, I should say that the NBA Finals, Game 5 audience, where the Knicks won, averaged 24.5 million people, okay? And it did have a peak of 33 million. But for a soccer game, okay, to have a higher rating than the closeout game of the NBA final, I don't want to hear anybody tell me that we're not a soccer nation, because we are.
And look at the I saw the NHL numbers. I'm glad you brought this up because it's in my notes. I didn't know if we were going to have time for it, but the NHL was the most watched playoffs in their history, breaking a record from 1996. They averaged. Now you're looking the Knicks averaged over the number. They averaged 1.8 million. Now you're comparing that to over 20 for the Knicks series. So if you take the whole series, the average audience was over 20 million. And you're talking about a single game with the U.S. men's national team. It's the World Cup, but it's an impressive figure. But that gives you an idea that there aren't many people really enamored with the sport of hockey in the United States. In comparison, it's
always been a niche sport. So let me just say this, okay? So the last game when Carolina closed out Las Vegas, Their rating was 5.9 million, and their peak was 7.2. All right, so that was a closeout game. And I want to say this in context, okay? Hockey is the 5th most popular sport in the United States, okay? It's NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, soccer, and hockey. Now, when you change it to leagues...
Thanks to Mexico. Go ahead.
Right, exactly. Right, and when you change it to leagues, then it switches to NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL, MLS. Okay? And when people say, oh, we're not a soccer nation, it's like we're not really a full MLS nation, although the league continues to grow. The 22,000 people that the league is averaging right now is probably the most that they've ever averaged. It's still the 7th largest average per game in the world, on the par with Italy, and now I believe ahead of Mexico. So there's a lot of positive context, but it still has a lot to grow. And this is where MLS, feels that they're going to be able to get a bump, right? But they've got to make sure that people are talking about MLS players and not only Messi, right? So now we've got 4 goals that are MLS goals so far, 3 by Messi and 1 by Musa for FC Dallas.
Petar Musa, who, that was for Croatia. That was huge for him and for MLS, as you're saying. So what you're saying is that it's foolish to say we're not a soccer nation, almost like it would be foolish to say we're not a nation of immigrants, because that's why we are a soccer nation. And those who fail to see it in both those manners we'll forgive them for their ignorance. How's that?
I don't know how forgiving I am. Learn. Don't be ignorant. Learn.
Hey, let's close by saying earlier today, World Cup history was made. Czechia won, South Africa won, not the game, not the result. Tori Penso, Brooke Mayo, and Catherine Nesbitt, first all-female group in a men's soccer World Cup match. How about that, man?
Yeah, they did very well for
they were great.
It's not that I would expect anything less.
No, they were fantastic.
Fantastic to all 3.
As the refereeing has been, I think I put this in our group chat. Maybe I didn't, but the reason I like the refereeing more than anything is that, so we talk about the time wasting, and the thing that is preventing players from diving and not getting up right away is the fact that they're not calling as many fouls. I mean, there is some stuff going on that they're allowing, and rightfully so. We're playing a brand of soccer that should be refereed the way it's being refereed. And maybe you could also say that's why have been so many red cards, because the players, as things are continuing to maybe be let go and continue to play, maybe the fouls are getting harder and harder. And look, Messi, in a regular MLS game, if you had a brave referee, he's done. He doesn't get his hat trick.
There's a really good argument that should have been a red card. That is a really good argument there.
Because he was looking right at the leg. I mean, he
just totally plants it. I mean, I believe it wasn't on purpose, but sometimes that doesn't have anything to do with it.
Sometimes it doesn't. That's right. I mean, it was a potentially serious.
But here's the thing, also, is that VAR is now in charge of a lot more as far as being able to change things. And so we saw it today, right? The guy who injured Kone was only given a yellow card, and then VAR chimed in and it was switched to a red.
And
now
we've seen a number of corner kicks, balls that were ruled as corner kicks changed to goal kicks because of VAR. That never happened before.
Right, because that's they've given them more responsibilities, and I like the responsibilities that they've given them to make the game fairer and easier for the referees. Referees are going to make mistakes. You hope that VAR is going to be able to help fix these things. I presume that in MLS, when it resumes, hopefully they'll implement all these things that are being implemented.
Get rid of the Get rid of the off-field treatment rule. Please get rid of the off-field treatment rule. It doesn't work because those times when teams are down a man for 60 seconds when their player was really injured is inexcusable. But go ahead.
I'm seeing it, Glenn. I absolutely do see that. But it's funny because in some games they've done it, and then in others they didn't. And I forget which one that JP Dellacamera did. I forget which game. It happened, and he was rightfully saying, well, he should be off for a minute, and then they didn't do that, and I thought it was off if they gave him I don't know, I'm lost already,
maybe they
got it wrong.
Mark Clattenburg, a former referee, is one of the guys that they go to in these situations, and he did it eloquently, but he said referees need to at times use common sense. And I'm happy if a referee overrules this off-field treatment rule, which should be eliminated from the IFAB laws of the game as soon as possible. But he said referees should use their common sense in a situation like that. And I bet you that's what happened. Maybe they even heard Clattenburg say it.
I don't know if they're allowed to do that, by the way. I mean, if a rule is a rule, you've got to follow the rule.
Oh, yeah, you're right, except if the referee can tell the guy's injured, then
yeah, but the referee doesn't have any jurisdiction at that point. The rule is the rule. You can't overrule. I mean, you know what I mean. You can't.
I know exactly what you mean, but I wonder. So is that referee going to get reprimanded? We need to hear all these things. We need to hear all these things.
We'll see about how transparent FIFA is on these things.
But it has been a well-refereed turn. I am so, I hope I'm not speaking too early, and we're going to get into more, games that are going to be a little crazier. But, yeah. Well, Roberto, you'll be watching in the Big Apple. I'm going to be heading to Bloomfield for this really, really fun match to look forward to. And so Matty Freeze, Aiden O'Neill, Kai Truen, good luck to you all. Go USA! Sorry, you Socceroos.
So you say they're going to tie?
Yes.
I don't. I think the U.S. wins. I think the U.S. is just a better team.
Good. I'm really looking forward to see how they solve some of these things. And if the U.S. comes through 2-0, 3-1, that's going to be an impressive victory against this group. Really
I have a question. I have a quick question for you, okay? And for everybody else, and they can chime in on my Twitter or your Twitter later on. How much is Mauricio Pochettino talking to AC Milan really affected in a negative way the United States? I want to know.
I don't know.
It was a big deal before the game. Everybody was freaking screaming about it. It was a really big deal. Now, all of a sudden, what's AC Milan?
Oh, maybe they would have won 6-1. So goal differential.
Please.
I'm just, hey, listen, I'm always going to give you the counter bluff on it. So there you go.
Please.
There you go.
Anyway, I want to go. I got to walk a block. You just go. You're just turning around and looking at your 1970s TV set that you've got there in the back.
Plus, he's not going to Milan anymore because Ruben Amorim is at Milan. So there you go.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
I saw that. He did so well. I don't know. That's an interesting one considering how things ended at Manchester United. But whatever. Maybe without Jim Ratcliffe over there, he'll be fine.
All right. For Roberto, I'm Glenn. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Good night and enjoy the game tomorrow.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.